Welcome, everybody, to this fourth and final episode of this four-part series breaking down Broncos 53-man roster. I'm your host, Jody the Judge Moncrief, and alongside me is Patrick Wiltsie. How are you today? Day out there, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's still day out here, afternoon. So it's been good. It's just they're dying of the heat. It's like an oven out here, island in the middle of the ocean, 90 degrees. That humidity's up there today. So
Well, when it's hot like that, is the water kind of unbearable to get in?
no, it's actually really, really nice. The water really doesn't get too much above about, I would say 75, 80. Right around 80, even when it's hot like that. So it makes it really nice, unless you have a pool that's not heated, because there's no need to heat them out here. So it's like, then it's not so good. But ocean's awesome.
Yeah, I just asked. I was in Vegas a couple years ago, and about 11 o'clock, you couldn't get in any of the pools or nothing. That everything just got so hot, the water, everything, that you couldn't get in.
I can imagine, man. I've only been out that way once when it was that warm, and that just, oof. Everybody's, it's a dry heat. I'm like, no, I don't care. It's.
Let me hit a few comments before we get this show going. Corey chimes in. Evening, fellas. Evening, Corey. Ernie Mays says, "Go Broncos country." Think Broncos big, not 31 small. Hello, Denver Broncos Roundup. He also says, "Hello, Jody and Patrick Wiltsie." And then Victor Lapp says, "You."
Yo.
So let's dive in. We did the offense last week, picked who we thought we were going to make the 53 based on who's currently on the 91-man roster. So let's do the same thing defensive-wise. You can just kind of go down the list as I'll just go back in the front end. Let's start with safeties. I think safeties was starter-wise was pretty easy. I think we're both in agreement. Hufanga and Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones coming off an injury towards the latter part of the season. Hufanga was Denver's best signing last year. A great signing. He fits well in this defense. Love everything about how he plays and everything about him. But the real question is, when you start into safety number 3, you have All-Pro Devon Keys, who is an All-Pro on special teams. You have JL Skinner, who over the past, since he's been a rookie, has fought off competition every year to make the 53. Yeah. And then you have rookie Miles Scott out of Illinois. How do you see behind Jones and Hufanga playing out, and do you have an odd man out, or do you have all 5 making this roster?
The only odd man out, really, that in my view so far is Scott, because I just don't know anything about him being the rookie yet. I'm curious to see. I'd like to see how he jumps in and goes here as they get some games in and towards preseason and whatnot. I'd like to see, but that's really about the only. He's the closest, but I could see all 5 going.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can see all 5 going. I think I only had 4 making it. Really, I think the battle is, does Denver think they can get Miles Scott through to the practice squad? And then JL Skinner, who's made the 53 since his rookie year, but
I think Scott's got the best shot at making the practice squad. I mean, Skinner, it's already out there. Skinner's made, he's good enough to make a squad. So, I'm sure somebody's been looking at him somewhere.
And if they do get rid of Skinner, is he somebody that you can get back on the practice squad, or does someone just come in and snatch him up? Those are the questions, and that's one that I'm really looking forward to. I think Devon Keys has the inside track to winning this safety 3. If not just for safety play, because of what he does on special teams, being All-Pro, that gives him a leg up there.
It's a lot of plays. It's a lot of plays a game. So, that's good to have that time in.
I'll ask you, and then I'll ask the chat. Everyone in the chat can put it in as well. Who do you have all 5 making it, or 4, or how?
I was kind of flip floppy. I had 4. I had Hufanga, obviously, and I had Jones. And then I kind of went with my gut that I'm hoping Scott does well. And I did Key and Scott.
And I
had 4.
And I went the exact same way. I have JL Skinner and another guy that we'll get to later, battling for that very last spot on this roster. So
I'd kind of forgotten.
It'll be interesting. And I'm a little bit, almost want to say worried. I mean, Brandon Jones had injury history in Miami before he came here. He had the healthy year 2 years ago, but then was injured again last year. Hufanga had injury history in San Francisco, was healthy last year. If one of those guys goes down, you don't have a guy on this roster that's started a game in the NFL. So that is one position that I am worried about, and it's a position that I could see at some point they trying to get a veteran to come in and fill that position.
Yeah, during the year, maybe if somebody goes down, you think they'd pick somebody up that's kind of sitting there still?
That I think you will see moves on cut day, other guys that get cut or surprise releases where Denver snatches one of them up. They may not start off on the 53, but it'll be practice squad and bouncing back and forth game day. So cool. I think we're all in agreement there. I'll hit a couple more in the chat, see what everyone else thought. Slimmy Broncos says, how y'all doing tonight? Doing good here. As long as it doesn't get any hotter. Slimmy Broncos also says, you are all doing it differently, starting with the defense. That would be pretty cool to start with the defense and didn't work your way to the offense. Well, we did the offense last week, so we started on offense and finishing up this week with the defense. Ernie May said he kept all 5 safeties, and if they kept all 5, I would not be surprised in the least. So,
yeah, I would definitely give you your cushion, but still, that like you're right, nobody's starting, so that'd be kind of weird.
And then Corey says Denver plays a big nickel mostly, and that I agree with. I think they're a nickel and dime like 75% of the time. So, it is kind of is what it is. But you're gonna need guys in the secondary when you're playing nickel and dime. So,
true.
Let's move on to cornerback. I think this is kind of an interesting one, but of all the defense, I think this was the easiest one for me to list. You've got the best cornerback, and you have arguments of probably maybe the best defensive player in football in Pat Surtain. On one side, you have Riley Moss, an up-and-comer who probably gets overlooked for the amount of good stuff he does because of a handful of bad PI calls and then a handful of just straight up ridiculous PI calls when they're not PI calls. And then you have Jaquan McMillan in the slot, who I've said multiple times is probably the best slot in football. The amount of big plays that he makes year after year, from sacks to interceptions. If it wasn't for his interception against Buffalo, we probably don't make the AFC title game. So then you have Jody Barron coming into his second season. Didn't see the field a whole lot his rookie year. What kind of role does he have? Does he take that next step and compete with Riley Moss, compete with Jaquan McMillan? How does he get on the field? And where does Denver see him, inside, outside? That's one of the things I'm really interested to see this camp. And then you got Chris Abrams-Drains, who is just a pro. He's obviously not one of your best corners, but you could do a lot worse. He's made this roster since a rookie. He's had to step in at times and be a starter, and you don't see a lot of missed stuff when he's on the field. So we can kind of go by this one quick if you want, but I had those 5 making it. I thought this was the easiest of everything on defense. I thought it was pretty cut and dry who was making this. Did you have anything different or anything you wanted to add?
No, not really. I think you've said it pretty good there. I mean, the only I don't even see, even if you were gonna get somebody, I mean, they've all played well enough, except for, I mean, we don't know anything about Barron yet, but I mean, get him in there a little more. But that's the only one I see that would even have they're not going to practice squad anybody because I think they'd get snatched up. Any of them have started, they've jumped in. So I think you're good.
I'll ask you this in the chat. With speculation that Bo Nix is going to get a big payday next year or coming up, can Denver afford to pay both Riley Moss, who will be a free agent, and Jaquan McMillan? Can they afford to pay both of them? And if the answer is no, who do they keep out of the two? What's your gut feeling? Or not who do they keep, but if they've determined that they are not going to be able to keep both of them come this offseason, do you see them try to move one of those guys and get assets now, or let them walk at the end of the seasons and be happy with comp picks? If they do move one, who do you think it is? Is it Riley Moss or is it Jaquan McMillan?
Honestly, I think if they can't afford both of them, they can't figure out a way to afford both of them, I think they keep Jaquan and let Moss go, because just he can fill in, I think, more places. Moss seems most suited, on that other side, keeping that other side. He's not so, like you said, slotty with things, I mean, I'm sure he can play there, but you just don't, you don't see the big plays out of him like you do Jaquan. So I think they'd keep Jaquan and let Riley kind of wander.
And I'm in total agreement. I think someone will overpay for Riley Moss, like Jacksonville did with John Franklin Myers. But I think Denver is determined they are all in, and it's Super Bowl or bust. And if that does come to fruition, they will be, I think, more than happy to take a few comp picks to lose either guy if that means get a Super Bowl ring. So
yeah, I think once the season starts, that's whoever's there when the season starts, those are their boys. That's who they're going to keep until the ride or die, if you want to put it. So
yep, I agree. We'll hit the comment section for a minute. Corey says it's Jonah Ellis, a good third rotation D end. We'll hit that in just a few minutes. Slimmy Broncos says he thinks Moss of the two. Slimmy Broncos also says, I think if worse comes to worse with Brandon Jones' injury history, they either put Moss at safety or they put Young Breed as a safety. I think if one of your starting safeties goes down and you don't have full confidence in what your backup situation is, I think you would move Jody Barron back there. He played a little of that at Texas in college, and that's when you just make the decision. Jody Barron is a safety, and this is Brandon Jones last year anyways, and you probably don't re-sign him. So that's what I think would happen. How about you?
No, that's pretty close. I mean, I don't know about. I mean, safety to me was always, the guy's a little more of a fire plug, a little bigger, guy, and Moss just doesn't. He's not small, but he's not. I don't know. He just doesn't, to me, not the right size for a safety. But I think you're right.
And I will say, of all the losses Denver had, I think one of the sneaky ones that go under the radar that no one talks about is losing PJ Locke to the Cowboys. I think the way he filled in last year and what he was able to do, that was a sneaky loss, and I wish there was a way that they could have retained him. But he had a chance to go start in Dallas, and you can't blame a guy for wanting to go start. So Ernie May says inside linebacker, keep 4 or 5. We'll hit that one here in just a second, Ernie. Keith in the house. Glad to see Keith. He says repeat performance from McMillan. Repeat performance from McMillan or memorable performance from Barron. I'll answer that. I'll say both. I think a repeat performance from McMillan, and you get a memorable performance from Barron, and he gets legit playing time, takes legit playing time away from Riley Moss. How about you, Patrick?
I'd be all right. If that's I wouldn't be a bad thing to happen at all. But like you said, if something happens safety wise, I think that's where Jody could prove himself. That's where Barron could jump in and prove himself, and like you said, move him over that way and just be solid there. And that's maybe where he gets his little more playing time.
Yep. TW4313 says it's tragic that our coaching staff never gave Skinner a chance. I just think that he had guys in front of him that were hard to beat out. And he's been given chances. He's made the 53, so he's had chances. He sees the field in dime packages. I just would like to see if it's now or never. Now's the chance where he can assert himself as that safety 3, and because I think that it's really wide open, that safety 3 position. So, and then he also says he was high. He was high though, coming out of college prior to his injury. Yeah, and I agree with that. He's a bigger safety, hard hitter. Just some guys just run into, I don't know if it's bad luck, but just have trouble getting on the field. It just happens. So, and then Keith says Davari Mathis signed with the Browns. Talk about names from the past.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think I did see that he just got cleared because I think he had a torn ACL last year and he just got cleared again. So good for him. Hopefully he can make that roster. That's still, even with them losing Myles Garrett, that's still probably a top 10 defense. So if he can make that team, that solid. Defense is still going to be solid. Let's dive into linebackers, inside linebackers. This is, if not safety, this is probably 1A or 1B for guys after starters. That depth is a real question mark for me, and it does worry me. You have Alex Singleton, who's been here, 3-4 years now. He wears the green dot. He's the ultimate leader of this defense. For whatever you think of him, he can't cover tight ends. He just makes plays, and he's around the ball. He's always up there in the top 5 in tackles. Makes big-time tackles. If it wasn't for that tackle on James Cook in the Buffalo game, you're probably going down 17-3, and you're about to get routed at home versus Buffalo. So I was probably in the minority of people that wanted him signed back, but I'm glad he's back. He is just the definition of a linebacker, in my opinion. And then you got Justin Strnad, who has finally given the chance to be a starter. That's what he's wanted. He said if he doesn't get that chance here, he's going elsewhere. And Denver gave it to him. They released Greenlaw. We all know that there were certain things why they released Greenlaw behind the scenes, but they put a lot of faith in Strnad, signed him early, didn't go out and address it with another veteran linebacker or anything. And I thought he played well last year. He improved his game a lot from when we seen him in the Buffalo game 2 years ago, just getting run all over and that type of thing. So I'm happy with our starters there. After that, it's a major question mark. You have Red Murdoch, the last guy drafted in this year's draft. You have Drew Sanders, who hasn't seen the field in close to 3 years. And then I put undrafted Taron York. He's getting a lot of hype He played at Texas A&M. There's other guys on this roster. You got Levon Bailey. Sorry. There's Jordan Turner. I think there's some other guys on this roster. How do you see after this starting linebacker room? How do you see this filling out with what's behind the starters?
I think the biggest question, like you put it there, Sanders not seeing the field in 3 years. I mean, even if he comes in fully healthy, I mean, is he going to be up to football speed? You know, is he not playing in 3 years effectively? So, I mean, I'm really pulling for Murdoch. I really want to see him jump in and go. Just, you know, I like those guys that seem to have a lot of heart, a little bit of a reason to have a chip on their shoulder, you know. I mean, last player picked in the draft, I mean, that's not a bigger chip than that, really, is there? I mean, well, I guess York has it with an undrafted, but I mean, there's not much bigger chips than that. So, I mean, honestly, I would see Murdoch and probably York making it over Sanders, unless Sanders comes in and just shows that he's fully healed up and, you know, ready to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. The 5 guys that are listed on the screen, that's who I have making this roster. But this wouldn't be one that I wouldn't be surprised that cut day they are bringing in another veteran, in my opinion. TW says if Barron is a real contributor and actually proves himself as a corner, Moss should not be a Bronco in 2027. Question for you, Keith says the replacement for Singleton is blank. It's coming sooner than we think.
Oh, that's I don't know. I'm not sure who they'd go after if Singleton's not. You know, he's a ball magnet, so it's kind of hard to. If he can teach that, hopefully, you know, maybe York or Murdoch can pick that up.
For me, I think it's Red Murdoch. I mean, he was a tackling machine at Buffalo. And this is a guy, if you want to know more about, he was just great in everything he did at Buffalo, 4-year starter there, tackling machine, like I said. So that would be the guy. But I think if Alex Singleton is truly done at the end of this year, like Keith is signaling, this is the position that I think you're going to have to address high in next year's draft.
Yeah.
TW4313 also says, man, our linebacker room stinks. All agree to the point of after your starters, it's not good. I mean, but you got to be honest with yourself. Singleton and Strnad were, you know, mainly your starters last year, and this was a top 2 defense last year. So
solid, yeah.
They were solid. You don't have an all-pro there. You don't have that there, but you could do a lot worse there. So
who jumped in when Singleton missed his games with the issues?
Like
I don't remember.
Strnad and Greenlaw.
Greenlaw, that's right. I forgot Greenlaw was when he left. I forgot about. Yeah, that's right. Okay, sorry.
But I had to do this exercise. I did this a while back. Just think back or go watch some games and tell me the game that Greenlaw made a huge impact last year with just major tackles or whatever. He had the interception against the Commanders, but other than that, where was the big game from Greenlaw last year? I never seen it. He didn't have a huge impact to me. So
did he miss a couple? Didn't he miss a couple at the beginning?
He missed like 6 in the begining or something like
6?
that. Well,
oh wow.
Yeah, it was a decent amount. So I mean, that was a name, and that was a guy that I was very, very hyped up and happy that we signed him, but it just didn't fit. So,
yeah, on paper it looked really good, but I don't know. It's like his head was just never into. Maybe the thin air at Mile High just didn't agree with him. I don't know, but he just seemed like his head was never in our game.
There was stuff behind the scenes. I mean, that he later on came out and said that this was like learning Spanish to him, this defense, that Kyle Shanahan run a much different and easier type training camp than Sean Payton does. So there was a lot of a lot of behind the scenes things that he didn't acclimate well with here. So, which is surprising to me because he came over with Hufanga, and you heard none of that from Hufanga. So I'm surprised that that Hufanga couldn't get him on the same page.
Yeah, no doubt.
But this is, I'll just leave it at this. This is one that I, on cut day, would definitely not be surprised to see another guy signed off another roster. Then we go to outside edge rusher. For me, this one was pretty easy, other than one guy. And I'm kind of up in the air on what they're going to do with Cooper. I don't know. Was actually really surprised to see him at camp today. I was surprised. I was surprised to hear Sean Payton say that the Broncos, had his back 100% and they were behind him. Just because I thought that they would just kind of step back and let it play out before they really said anything because of what went down. But
they do seem to really have just jumped in behind him and
and
supported.
With everything getting pushed back and all that, I think he will be eligible to dress week 1 and all that if Goodell and the NFL deems that he didn't violate the code of conduct policy, which I've just said for a while, I don't see any way that he doesn't miss the first 6 games.
Yeah, I could see 4 to 6 definitely, just from Goodell and them. Yeah, I don't see Denver doing anything that way, obviously. But
and the reason I say 6 is if he violates it, I mean that 6 is what it is. That's what was negotiated in the bargaining agreement. So 6 is what I see, and then you've got 4 edge rushers there. You got Nick Bonito, DeAndre Tillman, Jonah Ellis, and Q Robinson. And then the real question is who starts in place of Jonathan Cooper if he is now your starter week 1. We'll go to you first, Patrick. Who do you think starts if do you think Jonathan Cooper starts week 1? And if not, who do you think starts in his place?
I don't see him. I'd love to see it, but I just don't I'm not with these glasses. I just don't see him. Like, if it's 6, it's 6. I mean, I could see it being something. I didn't know it was 6. I didn't remember the agreement being 6. But I don't know. Is Q starter? You think Q'd get in there to start?
Me personally, I've said for a while, if Q Robinson gets a full 17 games and he is truly in the rotation, he will be a double-digit sack guy, and he is a guy I've predicted to start if Jonathan Cooper is not ready week 1 or around week 1.
I'd have to lean more towards him because he's got a little bit of some time in there, whatnot. I just don't. Jonah Ellis is. I don't know. I could see the two of them flip-flopping, I guess, but I'm not sure they'd name one a full-time starter. But I could see the two of them going back and forth.
But
maybe Tillman,
right. But I will say, whether it's Ellis, Robinson, or as Keith said a couple weeks ago, Tillman, it doesn't really matter to me because they're going to be in a rotation and they're all going to see a lot of time this year. So,
yeah.
But I had all. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. I had 5. I had all 5 of them making it. I think I did right too. Now, and this is subject to change, but right now I don't have them cutting Jonathan Cooper until either more comes out or something. I don't see them cutting him right now. So
no, I don't see them cutting him at all. Yeah, unless it comes out during the court case that I guess gets pushed back to 27. I mean, not this year. I don't see him cutting him.
Right. Keith asks, "Are you good with Jonathan Cooper return? How many games do we play without him?" I'll let you answer that first.
I'm good with him, honestly. I mean, we all goof up. And yeah, I mean, being in the positions they're in, making the money they make, they should probably watch a little bit more and be a little more aware of it. But everybody messes up. And if he's actually doing the work and, owning up to it, trying to be a better person, being better, whatever, of course, I think he's a good player. He's proven he can play. He pays his penance and goes, I have no problem with it.
For me, not to dive too much into it because we really don't know all what happened. I will say that he put himself through rehab and different things, and Sean Payton alluded to that today, and he has did what he needed to do off the field or what he's been asked to do off the field. So, like you said, until we know more stuff comes out, I'm going to say the guy messed up, handled his business off the field, and did what he needed to do. And then his second part, 6 games, Keith. I think the first 6 games we were out without him, minimum.
Yeah, I didn't remember it being 6. I thought maybe they could cut it to 4, but yeah, I could see.
Ernie says, edge rusher, we keep all 6. He must have Drew Sanders in as an edge rusher as well. TW says, Texans game, we probably didn't win without Greenlaw. I'd have to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
The fact that I just can't remember any memorable big-time plays from Greenlaw other than the interception in the Washington game says a lot for a guy that, was a great linebacker in San Francisco. So,
right, very true.
TW also says Cooper's going to lose his spot while he's suspended, I bet. Yeah, that is going to be interesting too. Does he get Wally pipped, especially if Jonah Ellis or any of the 3, I guess, come in and actually grab that spot and don't want to relinquish it? How do they fit him back in?
Right. I mean, like you said, double-digit sacks. I mean, if he misses 6 games, he should be on his way. He should have 5 or 6 by that point when he comes back. Are they going to want to? That's going to mess a lot with continuity. I guess is the word I'm looking for. It's going to kind of met everybody's the chemistry of who's doing what then. So yeah, that could be interesting.
That's going to be a behind-the-scenes thing that people will overlook. How, if he does get 6 or whatever the amount is, how do they integrate him back into this defense without messing up the rhythm of other guys that are probably going to be hungry to keep that spot? So
like when they're suspended, they can't come and practice, right? They have to be completely away from the team for that time, or are they allowed to come in and practice? And
yeah, they're away from the team the whole time. So, and if I actually was going to guess, I just have a feeling he's going to get put on the commissioner's exempt list. So, I mean, he's going to be just out of sight.
That could be longer than 6, right? Because I mean,
well, that's a
dark list, right?
If they do that, it's a minimum of 6, so it could be more, but 6 is the baseline. So,
gotcha.
Ernie May says get Von Miller to help out. Ernie, you'll have to go check in. Probably about 4 or 5 shows ago, we got into a long discussion of if we should bring Von Miller back. As much as I'd love to see Von Miller here, I just think that that's not a Sean Payton guy. And if for nothing else, you can go to how he did with Justin Strnad coming off an all-pro season, just released him and never looked back. What are your thoughts on bringing Von Miller back? Or do you think they will even consider it?
I think if they were going to consider it, I think they'd have done it already. I mean, just before there was any questions about 4 games, 6 games, whatever games Cooper gets, if they were going to bring Vaughn back, I think they'd have done it. So I don't know why they're holding back. I mean, if it's money, if it's whatever, it doesn't seem like it would be money because he's made it out there that he'd like to come and play, and he'd do just about anything to come back and play. But I don't think they're going to do it. I'd love to see it for my own fandom, but I just don't see him doing it.
I just don't see him doing it. I think they're going to keep him. 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 Yeah, I'm the same way. I would love it for nostalgia reasons, but I don't. And if they're gonna do it, they better do it because at some point somebody's gonna sign him. I mean, we're 3, 4. What are we?
Well,
4 weeks, 5 weeks away before the first game of the season. So
now he's still with Washington, right? Isn't
no,
he? Is he?
he's a
They
free
released
agent.
him. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I
well,
thought for some reason I thought he was still
they
in
just
there.
didn't bring him. They just didn't re-sign him. So he's a free agent, and he
Oh,
can
okay.
go wherever he wants. So
I thought he still had one more year with them. So
the
okay.
longer this goes on, I think as soon as someone calls him, he's gonna sign on the dotted line and get himself a job. So, TW says 2Q. He also says Q just looks like he moves different. Yeah, and I've said that for a while. That tackle he had against, I think it was in the New England game when he one armed that guy in the backfield. That just really impressed me, and that I've just been high on him ever since that. So, he also says else would prefer to be opposite of Benito, but he's kind of shown that he's dealt with injuries for a while now. Um, I would hope that he's healthy going into training camp. I mean, other than a couple an backup offensive lineman and a depth guy at inside linebacker, everyone was full go. So even Bo Nix, I mean, there was no restrictions.
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
And to that point, we talked about it, I think, a couple weeks ago with Nick Benito and the hand and the cast and different. I seen some tape today. I mean, it was glove only. There was nothing on the wrist. There was no big elbow brace
good.
on him today. So take that for what that's worth. But hopefully everything that he was dealing with last year is healthy and he can get back to that hand fighting and different things. So
yeah.
He says Ellis, if fully healthy, would be awesome. TW also says, if it happens that Cooper is 100% gone, get traded mid-season. Yeah, I don't know if he's who's going to want to sign him, and they got to take over that contract and some different things. So it's just a messed up deal. And until this all plays out, I don't want to speculate or anything. So. And then he says, "Give me Miller over Coop." Before we hit our defensive line, let's give our sponsor a little bit love in Pearl.
Pearl.
Let's go to that right now. And then our last position group, defensive line. This is one that's got a lot of depth here. A lot of guys, some guys that are not listed on the screen here, but a lot of guys. And this is one to me that's going to be interesting. This also, to me, has the one position of a starter you're going to have to fill from last year. And I think that's up in the air. I think there's 4 guys that really could compete for that. John Franklin Myers' role. You have Malcolm Roach, who actually played more snaps after he came back from his injury than John Franklin Myers did. You have Awazarike, who I thought was underrated last year and played well. Then you got the rookie Tyler Odiedem and Savion Jones, who didn't see the field a lot, but that's back-to-back third-round picks from the previous 2 years. So that is one spot that I'm very interested to see because I've seen actually all on different sites. I've seen all 4 of those guys penciled in as a starter. So that is one to watch for sure. obviously DJ Jones in the middle. I think that one's pretty easy. And then not much that hasn't been said about Zach Allen. I mean, he's an All-Pro. He's a top 3 to 5 interior lineman. Led the NFL in pressures last year. Close to double-digit sacks from the interior line. He's been great, and that's probably been Denver's best signing since Sean Payton's been here. So, and then you've got guys like Jordan Jackson on the roster, who is a Sean Payton guy. You have Matt Henningsen, who is coming off an injury, who, by all reports, kind of was the OTA darling. So that'll be interesting to see. First off, who do you think wins this starting spot? Who do you think wins this starting spot to replace John Franklin Myers?
I honestly think it's going to be Wazirike or Jones stepping in, showing that's why they pulled him in the third round last year. I really think for what I don't know the reason, but I really think a disservice was kind of done to him last year for not getting much time in, because you heard good stuff up until, the season. And I mean, he was good enough to make the main squad, right? He wasn't practice, was he? I don't think so. But
Savion Jones?
Yeah. He just was healthy scratch most of the time, right?
He made the 53, and I think he dressed like 2 games and very few snaps. So
I'd be curious to see. I think it's between him and Wazirike. I mean, I'm still gonna have problems with that. Onyedem, I'd love to see him come in and go, but I mean, you got those. Wazirike's got that little bit of a chip. He missed that time from the issues he had. And like you said last year, he came back strong. You didn't hear his name negatively last year that I can recall. I mean, oh, look who he got beat, or, you didn't hear any of that kind of stuff when he was out there. And he looked to be in on most of the plays, when it was at the line or whatever. He looked to be right there. He didn't look to be out of position that I could tell. I'm still kind of new looking at defensive line, but I mean, he didn't look to be nothing I could call out. So yeah, I think between Jones and Wazirike.
For me, in the beginning, I said I think Odienum wins this spot, but the more I think about it, Jones was a third-round pick last year, and he barely could even dress. And Tyler Odium will probably play more than Jones, but I'm just interested to see what they do with him, just based off of what they did with Jones. And I've said for a while, I think if the one weakness on this D is run defense, and if that means that they have to take a few less sacks and put a guy in there that can improve this run game a little bit more, I think they will do that. And that's why I probably lean towards Wazirike starting there. And then you will get plenty of rotation probably from all 3 guys there. This is a year where I can see moving Wazirike inside as well, and DJ Jones outside some, and some different stuff where he played outside in San Francisco. So, and then,
although it would be fun to have, the Joneses, the announcers could have fun with the Joneses if they were both in there. You know what I mean? Oh, the Joneses.
Yep. Before we make our final selection for this, I've got a question for you in the chat. Vita Vea, Tampa Bay's big defensive tackle, requested a trade this week. Is that somebody that Denver should pursue, or would you pass on that? How do you feel, Patrick, and how do you feel, Chap?
I'd love to see him here. I just don't know what we'd have to give up to make it worth Tampa Bay saying, yeah, we'll let him, I don't know if we have what they would want. I mean, to me, that's going to be draft picks. I don't think it would be a player for player kind of thing. And, we don't have, unless we get some of those comps, like you said, from other people moving on or whatever, I just don't see us having a lot of draft picks in those middle rounds like that. So I don't think we're going to go that way. I'd love to see him here. I don't think they're going to give up what Tampa Bay wants to give up for that.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that because you're going to have to pay him after this year, and this is where it gets tricky is if you have to pay Bo Nix big-time money, you're going to need guys on rookie deals. So you're going to have to start majorly hitting on picks and stuff. So
right, and all the Moss questions and other people that are going to be due for things. So yeah, that could be.
TW says his contract ain't bad, though. That's the thing. He didn't put a name there. If he'd put a name with that, Ernie says go Pearl. I agree with that. Ernie also says keep all 6 on the defensive line. And we can dive into that real quick. That's the 6 I had making the roster. Was those 6 right there? How about you, Patrick? How many did you end up keeping on your 53?
1, 2, 3. I did. I had all 6. I had Jackson being kind of odd man out.
I'm the same way, and I think Jackson, Henningsen, I think those are guys you can stash on the practice squad, and if needed, you can bring them up. Keith says your choice: strong safety, strong linebacker, strong D line. I'll let you answer that first, Patrick.
Honestly, I like the strong secondary myself a little bit more for things. Just because, I mean, if you can shut down the passing, then you're going to funnel things one direction. They're going to have to be running against you. So I don't think there's a lot of teams that can do that anymore. I mean, there's a few, but not a lot.
Yeah, and that's an easy one for me. Strong secondary. You have the best cornerback in football, maybe the best defensive player in football. I've said multiple times you have the best slot cornerback back there. And then you have underrated safeties back there. Hufanga was a second-team All-Pro this year again. So Denver may have the best starting secondary in football, in my opinion. So for me, that was a pretty easy one. Keith also says DJ Jones in a 5th for Vita. I mean, if you're all in this year and you're good with giving up whatever, and if Vita Vea can win you a champion or Super Bowl and you figure it out next year, then so be it. Hope that Bo Nix takes that next leap, and if you lose out on a few guys or whatever, hopefully he can start carrying this offense more where you don't need elite talent at every position. Yeah. Ernie May says, I like the whole team, go Broncos, country only. Yep, and I agree with that. So we've kind of broke down for me, and this was something I put in the chat. The guys on a defense for me, it came down to 2 guys. It came down to J.L. Skinner and Drew Sanders. Those were the 2 guys that were really I had questioned. I couldn't decide on. I ultimately went with Drew Sanders just because it's unknown, and I want to see if at some point he can live up to the hype when we drafted him. Was there a battle on this roster that you had of a couple guys that just you couldn't decide on?
Honestly, probably for me the defensive line guys there between, Onyeta making it in or not, I mean, that's why when you said all 6, I could see all 6 just because it made it an easier choice for me. But that's honestly where I'm going to look the strongest and the most is to see which one of those 3 guys, Onyeta, Jones, Wazirike, which one of them steps in. And like you said, they're going to filter between the 3 of them, rotation anyway, but which one of them gives them more of a bigger reason to be in there for more of the rotation. So,
right. And then there is and the names are escaping me. This is bad on me. We've had the long snapper for I think the last 3 years, but they did bring in a rookie or an undrafted guy that's going to battle him. Ultimately, I think they will stick with who they've had there, and then. And then you've got your punter and kicker, Crawshaw and Lutz. I think they brought in no competition there. Those are pretty much locks.
Yeah, I would think so.
Glenn Ashley says, "Good afternoon, Judge Jody,
Oos.
Mayus, Mr. Coffee Patrick, Pass and Juicers, or Posse and Juicers, sorry." Good to see Glenn. And Glenn's a good guy. If you want to reach out to him, as I said earlier, if you want to dive into a little more on Red Murdoch, reach out to Glenn. He mentioned Red Murdoch when we were doing our draft show. He was high on Red Murdoch, and that's been his guy for a while. So he can give you a lot of info on him. Before we close this show out, I just wanted to dive into a little bit of news that this was Denver's first day on the field, really, acclimation. They really hit it off. Friday is their first, I guess, true official day, but did a lot of individuals, a lot of, I don't know what you want to call it, like 7-on-7s, well, 7s, I guess. Just some things that I seen from some tapes and some listening to different things. Bo Nix was a 100% full participant. They didn't hold him out of anything. It was pointed out he was in ankle socks today. The ankle, if it was taped, it was very low taped under the socks, nothing high. No special cleats, nothing that was obvious. So cool. That's a great sign for me. Yeah. And then, like we mentioned earlier, Jonathan Cooper, he was at practice today and participated. However everyone falls on that, I'll leave that to them. But he was there today. And other than Nick Gargiulo and the one inside linebacker, everyone was a full go today. So excited to see that. Like I'd mentioned, Nick Bonito, no big arm brace, no cast on the wrist. So I was happy to see that.
Yeah.
Anything that you heard or noticed from day one at camp today?
The only real things I noticed is, like I said, I know you're letting people kind of stand where they need to or want to on the Cooper thing, but I think it says a lot that they're standing behind him, that they invited him in and whatnot. I mean, it doesn't say a lot NFL wise. I mean, they could still come down with whatever the NFL decides, but I really think it says a lot that they believe in him. They believe, he's doing whatever work off the field, like you said, that he needs to do. So that's probably the biggest thing for me is I was surprised to see them invite him. Not surprised to see him there, but for them to be like, yeah, come in, let's go. So that's probably my biggest surprise so far.
I'll add a couple other things that just popped in my mind. There are some videos floating out there. If you can find them, go watch. This new training facility is amazing. Guys were up there at the podium. They couldn't stop gushing over how incredible this facility is and what they've done. I think it was like $175 million in renovation they did, and the quick timeline that they were able to get it up and everything is just incredible. So
nice.
Props to the Penners and Waltons for everything that they've done, and you can tell that they are all in. They are going to do everything they can to give this team all the resources needed to win championships. So
yeah, I think it says a lot that I can't think of, it was a different podcast I happened to catch a little bit of this afternoon that was saying that they think it would help a lot with bringing the players here to have the top notch practice facility like that, and it better be top notch for 100 and I think they said, I thought they told me or told us 158, but still either way, I mean 150 some million, 160 million, 70 million. I mean it better be top notch for that kind of money, you'd think. So
yep. And then I'll point to one other video. Go find Quinn Miner's interview. I thought it was very telling today. He probably let out a little more than Sean Payton wanted, but he said there are some definite wrinkles in this offense, and Davis Webb has. It's not just what they ran last year. There are some definite wrinkles, and there are some definite things that are going to make this offense more explosive. So
Nice.
Whether that was a subtle shot at Sean Payton or not, or just happened to come out that way. I know some people will read into that, probably try to read between the lines when there's nothing there, but
I just want to see a few less screenplays.
That is right.
A few.
He didn't dive into play specific, but I've said for a while that is one, besides getting the plays in faster and smoother and that type of thing, I want to see more, not necessarily deep bombs, 40-yarders, but I want to see more intermediate in that 15 to 25 range over the middle.
Yeah, push the field.
What Bo Nix was doing the second half of his rookie year, I want to see more of that. And if this ankle injury does anything for Bo Nix, I hope it's run less and stay in the pocket. And I hope he's really worked on his footwork where it's read 1, read 2, read 3 if he has to, and works on maneuvering in the pocket, and it's not one read and run or try to roll out right away. So, but I found that, if you guys can find that, I thought that was a very interesting interview that Quinn Miners had.
Sounds good.
Glenn Ashley chimes in. Good to see Glenn. He says, I think those 6 D linemen make the 53 interior. Depth rotation is important. We will also be seeing who fits the JFM role, and possibly they'll have a committee approach. And I agree with that. I think it's not just going to be one guy. Unless someone just takes that giant leap, it's going to, like he said, a rotation and committee.
Yeah.
Ernie May says Broncos 15-2-0 and beyond. And then Glenn gives a little insight to Red Murdoch. He says, when it comes to Red Murdoch, it's not just his tackle volume that stands out. He doesn't miss tackles, which is even more important. Into the season, he will be number 2 at inside linebacker.
Nice. That'd be good.
And for a small school linebacker and somebody off the radar, Glenn has been on this guy since before the draft probably, but he had a lot of stats when he was drafted, so I knew he had done homework on this guy, and he's been on this guy for a while. So
I'll hit him up. I want to learn.
Other than that, training camp is here. I think Friday you'll see him in shells. And then starting next week, I think they go 7 or 8 days in a row. So that's the longest stretch in this year's camp. So be interesting to see what they do with how many of those 7 or 8 days in a row does Bo Nix participate and that type of thing. So I'm interested to see that. And then just interested to see Bo and Jalen Waddle get on the same page. So,
yeah,
those are kind of my final thoughts. Like I've said, this is the best time of the year for me. I love football, and it's here, and it's all in this year. So, how about you, Patrick? Any final thoughts?
Not too many, really. Just like you said, I am gonna hit Glenn up. I want to learn about Red Murdoch. Like I said, I like those chip on the shoulder guys, so I want to see that. I want to learn about that. Have a good reason to watch. But that's probably just defense is my favorite. So I mean, I'm glad we got to talk a little bit about it today, and I'm really, like you said, excited to see if they can just maintain. I'd love to see them be better than they were last year, but just try to maintain. Just try to be top 5 and just be solid, be dependable.
Yeah, I agree with that. The one thing I would like to see a little improvement on is the run game this year. And if that means a little less sacks or whatever, I'm fine with that. Because there were some games last year, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook's in the playoffs, where guys just kind of went off on this defense. So I don't want to. Yeah, I'd like to see that would be the one thing for me.
Probably a good call.
But
yeah,
as we come to an end here, Ernie says this is an awesome podcast. Thanks, Ernie. And
yeah, no doubt.
Thanks for tuning in every week. And with that said, if you don't have any more final comments or anything,
no, I'm good.
Get ready, boys, because I expect this to go just as long or I expect this actually to go longer than last year. So get on the train now before it fills up. With that said, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you guys Saturday for another show. Dive into what's taking place over the last week of camp, and then Kenny and Trevor will be on next Tuesday with their show. They'll be on Sunday as well with on Sunday as well with another draft show or a fantasy draft show. So tune in there. Draft should be kicking off pretty quick. So get signed up for a league. So it's here, boys. Football, the best time of the season. So with that said, thank you, Broncos country, and we will see you Saturday for another episode of Denver Broncos Roundup. Thank you.
See you, boys.